The story begins with a moment of apparent failure, a scene carefully designed to immediately engage the audience by highlighting vulnerability and tension. The protagonist, a young woman in a disciplined and high-stakes environment, faces an inspection that is critical to her standing within her group. Inspections in such settings are not merely procedural, they are a test of skill, attention to detail, and mental fortitude. As she fails, the response from those around her is immediate and cutting. Laughter, whispers, and incredulous glances ripple through the room, establishing a collective judgment that seems almost unanimous. This moment of public scrutiny is crucial because it positions her as an underdog and sets the stage for the story's central theme of overcoming obstacles and challenging preconceived notions. The failure is not just a simple misstep, it carries emotional weight, particularly in a setting where reputation, discipline, and competence are highly valued. For the protagonist, this failure is more than a score or a mark. It is a personal confrontation with doubt, both from others and perhaps within herself. The social dynamics at play amplify the tension. The mockery she endures reflects a broader commentary on the assumptions people make based on initial impressions, appearance, or superficial performance. Her peers' laughter is not just a reaction to a failed inspection. It is a manifestation of bias, preconceived hierarchies, and the human tendency to judge before understanding the full picture. In this way, the opening scene serves multiple narrative purposes. It builds empathy for the protagonist by putting her in a situation of heightened vulnerability. It establishes the stakes of her environment, making the audience aware that failure here carries consequences beyond the immediate. It also begins to plant seeds of suspense, as readers naturally question what lies beneath the surface of her perceived inadequacy. The scene's effectiveness lies in its relatability. Almost everyone has experienced moments where their abilities were questioned, often publicly, leading to feelings of embarrassment or self-doubt. By beginning the story with this failure, the narrative draws readers into a universal emotional experience, while simultaneously setting up the tension between perception and reality. The protagonist's failure is thus both literal and symbolic. A literal failure in the inspection and a symbolic representation of society's quick judgment. Through this opening, the story skillfully positions her not merely as a victim of circumstance, but as someone whose hidden capabilities will soon be revealed. The laughter of her peers, while momentarily humiliating, becomes the perfect foil for the later revelation of her true competence, making the eventual triumph even more satisfying. By anchoring the story in this initial failure, the narrative ensures that the protagonist's journey will feel earned, resonant, and inspirational. As the audience anticipates the moment when the initial misjudgment is overturned, the tension in the story deepens as the focus shifts from the protagonist's apparent failure to the reactions of those around her, emphasizing the stark contrast between perception and reality. The laughter and judgment from her peers are immediate and almost instinctive, reflecting how quickly people draw conclusions based on incomplete information. In this environment, appearances hold enormous weight, and a single misstep can overshadow years of effort and dedication. The story carefully illustrates how shallow assessments often dominate initial impressions, revealing a universal truth. Humans are prone to assume they understand someone's abilities without taking the time to see the full picture. This gap between perception and reality is central to the narrative, as it establishes a dramatic tension that keeps the audience engaged. The protagonist's peers are convinced they have accurately measured her competence based solely on a single inspection. They fail to recognize that performance under pressure can fluctuate, that experience and skill are not always immediately visible, and that one moment does not define a person's entire capability. By highlighting this misjudgment, The story critiques the dangers of snap judgments and emphasizes the value of patience, observation, and open-mindedness. The audience, in contrast to the mocking peers, begins to sense that there is more to the protagonist than meets the eye. The narrative deliberately plants subtle clues, perhaps in the way she carries herself, her calm under scrutiny, or the brief flashes of technical knowledge that hint at her hidden competence. These moments create suspense and anticipation. As readers start to question the validity of the mockery she faces and anticipate the eventual reveal that will challenge the assumptions of her peers. In doing so, the story explores a deeper theme, the dissonance between how others perceive us and who we truly are. This theme resonates broadly, as everyone has experienced moments when their abilities were underestimated, misunderstood, or ignored. The story captures this experience with emotional nuance, allowing readers to empathize with the protagonist and recognize the unfairness of her situation. By juxtaposing the outward scorn with the unseen reality of her talent and preparation, the narrative not only builds suspense, but also strengthens the emotional payoff of the eventual vindication. Additionally, the contrast between perception and reality serves to underscore the importance of critical thinking and withholding judgment, particularly in hierarchical or competitive settings where one's reputation can be easily tarnished by a single misinterpreted action. It also sets the stage for the story's central turning point, the intervention of an authority figure who recognizes her true capabilities, thereby validating what others have failed to see. Through this tension, the story engages readers in a reflection on fairness, the human tendency to judge prematurely, and the value of looking beyond surface-level impressions. The protagonist's struggle against misperception becomes a universal metaphor for resilience, patience, and the eventual triumph of substance over superficial judgment. The narrative takes a pivotal turn with the entrance of the colonel, an authoritative figure whose actions serve as the catalyst for the story's unfolding drama. Until this moment, the protagonist has been subjected to the ridicule and judgment of her peers, creating a tension-filled environment where her abilities are underestimated and dismissed. The colonel's intervention changes the trajectory of the story, signaling a shift from doubt to recognition, from superficial judgment to a deeper understanding of merit. This turning point is significant because it highlights the role that authority and mentorship can play in uncovering hidden talent and challenging prevailing biases. The colonel is not merely a character. He represents the system of evaluation and discernment that operates beyond the surface-level opinions of peers. By choosing to open her file, he signals that competence and potential are not always visible in a single performance or moment. His action also carries symbolic weight. It is an acknowledgement that preparation, effort, and achievement deserve recognition, even when overlooked or dismissed by others. This intervention dramatically alters the dynamics of the narrative. Where her peers laughed and doubted her capabilities, the colonel's deliberate and measured approach introduces suspense and curiosity. The audience is drawn to anticipate what the file contains, what credentials, accomplishments, or experiences have been hidden from view, and how this revelation will challenge the assumptions of everyone who has underestimated her. In essence, the colonel functions as a narrative bridge, connecting the protagonist's struggle with the eventual moment of vindication. The opening of the file is not just a mechanical act. It represents the uncovering of truth, the recognition of merit, and the validation of effort. It demonstrates that authority, when exercised thoughtfully, has the power to correct misjudgments and set the stage for justice and acknowledgement. This moment also reinforces the story's broader themes of fairness, perseverance, and the triumph of substance over superficial impressions. It shows that while peer judgment may be harsh or uninformed, Those in positions of responsibility have the opportunity, and perhaps the duty, to look beyond appearances and assess talent based on evidence and achievement. Furthermore, the Connell's decision to open the file introduces a psychological dimension to the story. It forces the protagonist's peers to confront their earlier assumptions, creating tension and anticipation as the narrative builds toward the revelation of her true capabilities. The Colonel's role emphasizes that recognition from the right source can dramatically shift perceptions, the transforming ridicule into respect and doubt into admiration. Through this plot device, the story underscores a universal truth. Talent and dedication often remain invisible until someone in a position of discernment chooses to acknowledge them. This moment is crucial for shaping the audience's engagement, as it promises the forthcoming vindication of the protagonist and reinforces the narrative's inspirational arc. It serves as a reminder that merit, though sometimes unseen, ultimately commands acknowledgement when observed by those who have the wisdom and authority to recognize it. The revelation of the protagonist's hidden achievements forms the core of the story's turning point, transforming her from a figure of ridicule to one of admiration and respect. Until this moment, her peers' laughter and scorn have dominated the narrative, framing her as someone who failed to meet expectations and reinforcing the perception of incompetence. However, the opening of her file by the Colonel introduces a dramatic shift, uncovering layers of skill, experience, and accomplishment that were previously invisible to everyone in the room. This revelation is more than just a list of accolades or completed training. It serves as a narrative device that validates her perseverance, intelligence, and dedication, showing that competence is often built quietly, away from public scrutiny, and can remain hidden until the right moment of recognition. The contents of the file might include exceptional training results, high-level commendations, specialized qualifications, or experiences that demonstrate her capacity to excel in demanding situations. Each of these accomplishments not only highlights her technical proficiency, but also reflects her determination and resilience in an environment that may have been skeptical of her abilities. By revealing these achievements, the story emphasizes the theme of substance versus appearance. What is visible in the moment, such as a failed inspection, does not necessarily capture the entirety of a person's capability or potential. The narrative carefully contrasts the initial perception with the reality unveiled in the file, creating dramatic tension that engages the reader's curiosity and empathy. This moment also serves as a lesson in humility and reassessment, forcing both her peers and the audience to confront the consequences of premature judgment. The previously mocking characters are compelled to recognize that their assumptions were flawed, highlighting how limited observation can lead to misjudgment and underestimation of others' abilities. In a broader sense, the revelation underscores the importance of preparation, hard work, and perseverance, particularly in challenging or competitive environments. The protagonist's quiet dedication, evident only when documented in her file, demonstrates that real accomplishment is often the result of sustained effort, rather than immediate success or public approval. It also reinforces the idea that recognition and validation are sometimes external and dependent on someone in a position of authority who has the wisdom and perspective to see beyond the surface. Narratively, this turning point serves as the climax of the underdog arc, transforming the story from one of apparent failure to one of triumph and inspiration. It resonates with universal human experiences. Many people face situations where their true abilities are hidden or undervalued, and it is only through perseverance and eventual acknowledgement that their efforts are validated. By highlighting the protagonist's hidden achievements, the story delivers a powerful message about resilience, latent talent, and the rewards of dedication, while also critiquing societal tendencies to judge too quickly. The revelation is both satisfying and instructive, showing that true capability cannot be dismissed by a single moment of perceived failure, and that hidden strengths often emerge when least expected, reshaping perceptions and inspiring admiration. The story reaches its emotional and thematic peak with the protagonist's vindication, a moment that transforms not only how she is perceived, but also how she perceives herself and her place within the environment. After enduring ridicule, judgment, and doubt, the revelation of her hidden achievements flips the narrative, shifting the atmosphere from scorn to respect, from derision to admiration. This transformation is significant because it embodies the central theme of empowerment, illustrating that perseverance, competence, and integrity ultimately earn recognition even in the face of skepticism or prejudice. The audience witnesses a powerful reversal of social dynamics. Those who once laughed and mocked are now confronted with undeniable evidence of her talent and capability. The story carefully constructs this reversal to maximize its emotional impact, demonstrating that public perception can be fleeting and superficial, whereas true skill and dedication carry lasting weight. The protagonist's vindication is not just about external recognition. It is also deeply personal. The initial failure and ensuing mockery likely left her grappling with self-doubt and internalized judgment. The moment when her accomplishments are acknowledged validates her efforts, reinforcing her confidence and sense of self-worth. It sends a clear message that resilience and dedication are not meaningless, even when others fail to recognize them. Moreover, this turning point conveys an inspirational message to the audience: adversity and misunderstanding do not define one's value, and patience and steadfastness can ultimately transform even the most skeptical observers. The story also emphasizes the broader implications of empowerment in environments that are highly structured or male-dominated. The protagonist's journey from humiliation to respect underscores the importance of challenging societal or institutional biases and highlights the possibility of success despite initial setbacks or discrimination. This theme resonates with readers beyond the specific setting, offering a universal lesson about perseverance, self-belief, and the eventual triumph of merit over superficial judgment. Furthermore, the vindication reinforces the narrative arc of the underdog. A figure who faces seemingly insurmountable obstacles is underestimated and yet rises to reveal extraordinary capability. This arc provides both emotional satisfaction and motivational resonance, allowing the audience to celebrate not only her success, but also the process by which she achieved it. The response of her peers and superiors to this revelation adds another layer of narrative richness. Their astonishment, respect, or even remorse highlights the fragility of assumptions and the consequences of failing to recognize effort and talent. It also reinforces the story's moral lesson: judgment should be withheld until one has a full understanding, and true accomplishment often speaks louder than appearances. In essence, the protagonist's vindication completes a transformative journey that is both external and internal, offering readers a deeply satisfying resolution. It celebrates the triumph of resilience, competence, and integrity, delivering an enduring message that challenges the audience to reconsider how they perceive and value the abilities of others. By concluding with empowerment and recognition, the story leaves a lasting impression that achievement, when grounded in dedication and skill, ultimately commands respect, reshaping perceptions and inspiring admiration long after the moment has passed.